All right, so if you've been watching my videos along, I put on the hat because my hair is just starting to get out of control. But anyways, yeah, Emmanuel Forbes for the Washington Commanders. This is a surprise. I thought Will Levis was an option on the table at this point. They decided to not go that route. The NFL clearly not as high on Will Levis as some other people are on him. They decided to go for Emmanuel Forbes, which I'm definitely surprised that Christian Gonzalez wasn't the pick. Although I do have to say, I love Emmanuel Forbes. I am a huge Emmanuel Forbes fan, and I don't think this is a reach necessarily getting him in this spot. I really don't. I had him around this spot in my big board. I had him as kind of a mid-first round pick, and I think in a mock draft, I even had him going pick 14 to the Patriots. So he goes at pick, goes here at pick 16 to the Washington Commanders. So, listen, we're going to get into it in the film. We're going to talk about what he does well. I think he's a very good player. Again, would I rather him than Christian Gonzalez? I don't think so. One of the things that, and we'll get into it more once we get into the film, but one thing that got talked about a lot with Forbes was the weight, only 160 something pounds, which is like very, small, but the tape, you would not notice it. I mean, you really wouldn't. The way he plays, to me, it reminds me a lot of the Devonta Smith concerns, where it's like, okay, well, yes, I think that's weird, and usually when something is unusual, that's definitely a cause for some concern. At the end of the day, it's not a reason to not draft a player, and I feel like if he weighed 200 pounds but had the exact same tape, this wouldn't have been a controversial take. So, Washington has shown now, with the Jahan Dotson selection in last year's draft, they are not terrified to go out and to draft a player who, maybe other people don't view as a mid-first rounder, maybe view as a late first rounder. They just want the player that they like on their board, and I don't necessarily hate it. I like Forbes a lot, and again, he has similar athleticism and similar traits that Christian Gonzalez does. So while it's very fascinating that they decided to not draft Christian Gonzalez, the guy who many people had as number one corner on their board, I think they got a good player, and I do think that, again, could you have gone with Will Levis at this spot? You could have, but they probably just don't love Will Levis, which I don't love Will Levis, so I kind of get it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that, the selection. But now let's just talk about the player as a whole and what he brings to the table. So this is Emmanuel Forbes' PFF sheet. So you see that, again, he's known for being a great athlete, but the production was relatively there as well last season. Kind of a one-year wonder. But again, for corners, that worries me less. The reality is, it almost never happens where you have a guy who's been great for 3 years come out of college. That's a very rare situation, and I wouldn't expect that to happen too often. But, 1 year, very good, and even 2021 was not bad. And he does have 3, years of over 700 snaps in a row where he got better by a significant jump each year. You also look at the, stuff on the right, his coverage grade, great. His run defense grade, still good as well, which all you really need for a corner is to not be a mess there, but he's actively good there, which is definitely a plus. Gives up a bit of a higher completion percentage than you'd want. Again, that little dot, the further towards the right, the better it is for that player. So in this scenario, the lower the completion percentage, the farther to the right it would be completion percentage against. But again, they show coverage grade a couple more times. It's very good there as well. But yeah, those are his PFF grades. But again, PFF grades for the cornerback position doesn't work as well, at measuring how good they'll be as NFL players as it does for other positions. Like defensive lineman works very well. Guys with good PFF grades become good players. Cornerbacks, not quite as much. But let's talk about Forbes, and could he be a great NFL player? Well, first, let's start off with this play. You see him on the screen. He is the guy who's in charge of covering the white zone. You also have the receiver who's going up against, going to run a route that could work, right? For Forbes, he has to make sure he doesn't get beat deep. So the fact that it's cutting underneath can absolutely, be a struggle. So right when this play begins, doing a good job at first of not getting beat deep and hanging with the receiver. But again, he doesn't know where the receiver is going. That's definitely a benefit here. And we're going to see, what do you do here? So the receiver is about to cut towards the bottom of the screen. How can Forbes turn around with his hips turned towards the top of the screen and make sure he covers him? Well, he's going to create a little bit of contact, which allows him to kind of hang with there. And he also does have the shiftiness enough to get over there. He doesn't have the best feet and hips. That's one of the things I don't love about him. And can get a little bit grabby, but I would say that his speed is good enough that he can come back and make those plays. And listen, knowing what you can and can't get away with is not the worst thing in the world. Don't be afraid to use your hands. You are allowed to use them as long as you don't hold on, which, they didn't get a call there, so don't be afraid to do that sometimes, which I kind of like. However, we didn't have stuff like this where you see that, okay, it's worth noting the situation. Alabama has to get the ball to their opponent's 44-yard lines, currently at their own 46-yard line here. It's a first down, so it's not like they have to, get it on this play or anything. But still, you see that the defense right here playing very far off. Forbes is playing very far off, which for a 4-3-5 guy doesn't have to do this, but he is. Watch how on this play, though, you see that, okay, receiver cuts underneath. There is a window if he wants to make this throw now, but the quarterback decides not to, which now means that, okay, it's a bit of a scramble drill situation. Here's where one of Forbes' issues comes in, is he definitely can bite on moves a bit too early, and again, with the fact that he can also get a little bit grabby, you're going to see it kind of show its ugly head on this play. Watch as he runs in and basically ends up just yanking the receiver to the ground, which does draw a flag and allows Alabama to get a first down on that play, which you would have loved to see not happen. So again, there's good stuff with Forbes, but he's a bit raw of a prospect, I would say. He definitely has some mistakes that you see on tape, which is why a lot of people didn't have him as one of the elite corner prospects. But I would say that there still are some good plays. He does have a good understanding of, the game of football, where it's a one-on-one matchup, but with a safety deep. That's important to note here. Watch how, when the receiver cuts in and runs over the middle, Forbes is doing a pretty good job of hanging with him. Now, the receiver is going to kind of try to fake as though he's going over the middle, but he's actually going to run deep. And so for Forbes, he doesn't know what's actually happening, right? He doesn't know if this is going to be a route over the middle or if it's going to be deep. There's no way he could know that. But what should he do in this situation? Well, he has a safety deep, so getting beat deep down the field is not the end of the world. Getting beat over the middle is. There's no help there. So that's what he's going to be focusing on. Watch as you see, he does kind of get beat down the field eventually because he was overcommitting towards the route that he should have been overcommitting towards. I don't have an issue with this. And again, you have the athleticism of being 6'1 and 6'1 and runs a 4.35. That's definitely great. All that stuff, fantastic. Again, defends the run, even though he's only 166 pounds, which is very good. There's just some issues he has to clean up, and it's interesting to see if he will, because if he does, he could absolutely become a star cornerback in the NFL. At least that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.